AOC seems to have left her fact-checkers at home during her visit to Germany over the weekend. The Democratic congresswoman was hilariously mocked after footage emerged of her speaking at an event in Berlin, where she mistakenly claimed that Venezuela lies south of the equator.
Look at what happened in Venezuela, for example. It is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator.
Well, the congresswoman reportedly weighing a Senate or potential White House run, but her critics say AOC needs a geography crash course first. That's coming up new too.
Online commentators reveled in the geographic mishap, with this person saying, Rep AOC is being brutally mocked for claiming we can't capture leaders from Venezuela because it's below the equator. Dumb as a box of rocks. Venezuela is above the equator. And that wasn't the only mistake of her appearance. She was again humiliated when she attempted to school Marco Rubio on cowboys, not realizing that Spain actually introduced horses to Mexico.
Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture. My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain.
I thought they came from Winnetou, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that.
And in the same discussion, AOC was blasted for undermining the very fabric of Western civilization, saying that culture is thin and in a perpetual state of evolution in response to Marco Rubio's impassioned speech about maintaining our Western civilization.
Marco Rubio's speech was a pure appeal to Western culture. You know, I think it's also important to note how thin that foundation is. Culture is changing. Culture always changed. Culture for the entire history of human civilization has been a fluid, evolving thing that is a response to the conditions that we live in. And so they want to take this mantle of culture. At the end of the day, though, it is very thin. And so the response that we have to have is, again, it's material, it's class-based, it's common interest.
Author Paul and Leitner exposed AOC's motive, saying, "This is my lane of expertise, so let me help you translate what AOC is saying here. It's Marxism. She claims that the foundation of Western culture is thin, and that culture is really nothing more than a perpetual state of evolution in response to material causes. Your primary marker of identification should not be tied to religion or the place you live, but your class. This is textbook philosophical Marxism." Bishop Robert Barron agreed, saying AOC's words illuminates the Marxist ideology that is taking hold in the US.
But also this, to characterize culture as thin is a Marxist move. Marx said that culture is simply an epiphenomenal superstructure on top of the economic substructure. And don't be distracted, therefore, by the culture. That's just protecting the economics at bottom. Well, again, listen to her. Let's pay attention to the material conditions and to class struggle. Again, that's the Marxist playbook. What's worrying me, everybody, is the extent to which political leadership on the left in America is becoming, it's unapologetically Marxist. The mayor of New York City, the warmth of collectivism. He's calling for the confiscation of private property, of seizing the means of production. All language right out of a communist manifesto. Might I encourage followers of, Mayor Mamdani and AOC, talk to some of them, they're still alive, some of them, the people that fled Marxist tyranny in Europe, people laboring under it to this day in Cuba, North Korea, Venezuela, etc.
But not everyone was against AOC. Journalist Mehdi Hassan blasted the Republicans for exposing the Democrats. He said, "All I see on my timeline is a bunch of Republicans and legacy media reporters parsing every quote and comment from AOC in Germany, trying to mock them for incoherence or inaccuracy. Meanwhile, a ranting, demented old man who can't string sentences together, stay awake, or identify Germany on a map sits in the Oval Office, re-elected, while the legacy media happily sane washes his ridiculous garbage quotes on a daily basis while refusing to ever question his total ignorance on every issue. Remarkable. AOC appeared unbothered by the criticism, posting on X after the event. She said, "We exposed the global far-right's playbook at Munich and how to stop them." Right on cue, Rubio beelined from his revisionist MAGA speech to MSC to boost Orban in Hungary's elections. "We must wake up before it's too late. A working-class politics can defeat authoritarianism." Commentator Megyn Kelly was not letting her get away with it though, replying, "Actually, you spat and spluttered and humiliated yourself, but okay." AOC's performance came after Secretary of State Marco Rubio brought the European audience to their feet after an historic speech about maintaining Western culture during the security conference.
"We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. And this is why we do not want allies to rationalize the broken status quo rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it.